Welcome in, folks. Back from a short hiatus. I hope everybody had an amazing 4th of July weekend. I am your host, as always, the one and only Jet707. And in today's video, reinforcements on the way, Myles Turner and AJ Green, but not for Şengün. So if you were hoping to see Şengün leave, this isn't the video for you. But even if you didn't, I hope you stick around. Speaking of which, shout out to my early subscribers. Uh, I do want to start making daily content, but that can only happen if you like, comment, and subscribe. So shout out to you guys. Appreciate it. If you're pressed for time, I'll put the trade up on the screen. Basically, it's going to be Turner and AJ Green for Fred VanVleet, Clint Capella, and some sort of draft capital. We're kind of light on seconds. We'll get to that towards the end of the video. I'm guessing a 2028 first round pick, some sort of protection, but maybe not. How bad does Milwaukee want to get off Myles Turner's contract and the remaining 3 years at over $27 million? I mean, we've seen teams. We just dumped DFS for 3 second-round picks, including a really good one from Memphis. We saw, like I had been telling you guys, I kept telling everybody, Ja Morant is not going to fetch nothing. And the only reason Memphis didn't have to give up draft capital is because they attached another horrible salary in Jeremy Grant. Obviously, Jalen Green did not go for what everybody thought he would. 2 first-rounders with some weird protections in there, and 2 swaps, and then you get Paul George's atrocious contract with his 16 points a game at basically a max salary. Not good. But I think for the record, a reasonable trade would be Myles Turner, AJ Green for Fred VanVleet, Capella, and some sort of protected 2028 pick. The 2027 picks, totally off the books right now. You're not getting them, and I would probably say no to the 2029 picks. But maybe something like a top 8 protected 2028 pick. I think that would be pretty fair. And they could probably throw in some seconds, which they got from Miami, back our way, because we're kind of light on those. But AJ Green, I mean, everybody's been asking for shooting. I know Will from the Brando and Will show he's had his eye on this guy for a while, and with good reason. He's in the prime of his career, 26 years old. He's on a really good contract. I believe he's had 3 years left on his deal at somewhere in the 11 million-ish range. 6'4" guy, 190. He's probably closer to 200 now, though. He has been hitting the weight since he got into the league, and he's got a nice 6'9" wingspan. But we're talking a 42% three-point shooter for his career. And this past season, he was letting them fly. 42% on 7 attempts a game in 78 games, roughly 68 starts. And you could kind of look at him as the dreaded, oh no, small guard can't defend. But we'll get to the defense in a second, because he actually competes his ass off in that department, and he's not as bad as people think. Trust me on that. And you're looking at him roughly playing, you could call it the pseudo small forward or the 3 guard lineup. He played about 68 to 70% of his minutes, as the 3rd guard on the floor. Obviously, they got KPJ, former Rocket, and Ryan Rollins, and now they got a whole lot of other mouths to feed at guard with the hero trade and whatnot. So I could definitely see them trying to get off AJ Green's contract, or excuse me, using AJ Green's contract to get off of the Myles Turner deal. AJ Green's played in the playoffs only once in the 2024-2025 season. Well, the year he actually got to play, and he was a bit of a playoff riser. His 3-point percentage went up 51% on 7 attempts a game. Yes, sir. He's got a nice 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio. He fits in with the possible possession maxing and whatnot. And we know what we're getting with him. One of the absolute best floor spacers in the NBA. Catch and shoot, corner, movement, it doesn't matter. This guy's going to let him fly, and he's going to hit him. He's a bit of a weapon there. He'd definitely add some nice wrinkles to the team. And as I've mentioned, defensively, he's not atrocious. I mean, anytime you're 6'4" or under, you're going to be giving up size. Teams are going to try to hunt you on the switches. But he has dedicated himself in the weight room, much like JJ Redick did before him. I remember back in the day, JJ was not a good defender coming out of college. He was a star at Duke, 4-year player, and just for the first 4 years of his career at least, he was always getting picked on. Turned it around after that, and it wasn't until he was really with the Clippers to where you looked at him as, oh no, JJ Redick. Yeah, JJ Redick is like a legit two-way player. It kind of gives me hope for Reed Shepard in that department. Obviously, Reed Shepard, yeah, he's amazing in the stocks department. He kind of gets those Fred Van Fleet blocks, and he even has a nice vertical. He'll definitely contest and get some blocks there. Quick hands, he can get steals. But I think as he gets older, we're definitely going to see a better player on that end. And I'm hopeful that happens in a Rockets uniform. I would not trade him unless it was for a star. Everybody wants that instant satisfaction, but I mean, we could take a look at a guy like Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard didn't really take off till Udoka wasn't the coach there, ironically. His first 4 years, I don't think he averaged double figures. And then last season, or not this past season, the year before, but he ends up being sixth man of the year. And this past year, he might have won it again, but he started too many games. He had 50 starts of his 79 games, and the voters went with Keldon Johnson, kind of like the Spurs' record, but all 82 of his games were off the bench. For reference, Reed Shepard averaged more points per game than Keldon Johnson, who was, in my opinion, one of the worst winners of the award in recent memories, and we kind of saw that in the playoffs. But for Shepard, hypothetically, if Fred's gone, we'll get to that a little bit later too. Does Shepard become the starter? We were 17-4 in those games where he was the starter. Or do you throw Marcus Smart in there? I think for balance, you'd probably want Reed starting, and then that way you could have a dynamite shooter on the floor at all times. Or you could get crazy. You could get crazy and have Shepard and Green on the floor at the same time with Turner as the center. Like, holy shit, all of a sudden Houston shooting team? Really? And this trade will help us stay true to getting back into that double big lineup, as we'll discuss in just a moment here. But for Reed Shepard, I mean, remember, guys, this guy could be a senior this year in college. It's not like Redick. Redick in college played 139 games, 134 starts. Peyton Pritchard, 140 starts, or excuse me, 140 starts, yes, and 144 total games. AJ Green, 99 games, all starts. All of those guys were 4-year college players. So before anybody writes Reed Shepard off, I'd reconsider it. His per 36 numbers look awfully close to that dude in Golden State. Not saying he's that, obviously. Duh, but just just some food for your thought. You know, Shepard, I believe, shit, he didn't even start in college. Him or Dillingham didn't really, actually. They both came off the bench. They had DJ Wagner, who is Dejan Wagner's son, former sixth overall pick by Cleveland back in 2022. Anyways, the younger Wagner was the sixth overall recruit. Dillashaw was probably something like, what was he, 21st, and Shepard was way down there at 79th. So, they honored their promise to start him, but obviously they had two lottery picks. We knew who the better players were. And realistically, Dillashaw was more of the point guard, and Shepard was more of the two. So I don't know. Are you guys comfortable? Do we throw him in there as the starter again? Do we let Marcus Smart start? Hypothetically, obviously. But listen, we need more shooting. We need more shooting, and we need more high IQ players. And I do consider Myles Turner and AJ Green high IQ type of players. And speaking of Turner, he gives us two things we haven't had in Houston in a while. Obviously, floor spacing, number one. A little bit, it would be a little bit of a homecoming for Turner, who is from Benford, Texas. Shout out to you, Ronald Gober, who he let me know wherever Marcus Smart was from, Flower Mound or something. But yeah, Myles Turner, though. shot blocking big who can shoot threes. He's played with a player like Sabonis, or sorry, like Şengün before. He played 276 games with Domantas Sabonis, 162 starts before the Kings stepped in and they were like, "We gotta have Sabonis. Hey, are you guys interested in Tyrese Halliburton? Here you go." And I think we'll give you picks. I don't remember if they gave draft picks or not, but what a horrible trade for what is a horrible franchise. Sorry, Kings. And speaking of which, Turner was on a team last year that was one win away, one Halliburton injury away from winning the finals last year, where they took OKC to 7 games. Personally, I think they would have closed the deal. I think they would have won. But imagine getting Turner as the backup now. Now, he is 30 years old now. He has played in 713 games, but he's been really durable over his 11-year career. He's averaging 65 games played. In the last 3 years, he's played 77, 72, 71. So definitely durable, and we're going to need that with Steven Adams. I definitely want the double big to be a thing. Us Rockets fans, we've seen it. We know Alperen Şengün plays his best ball when he's slid over to that power forward spot, and this would allow him to do that more often than not. Turner shot it at about 38% last year, 36% for his career, and 77 from the line. For reference, that's better than Jaylen Brown, who's a 35% three-point shooter and 74% from the line. But he would give us a shot blocker, somebody who can anchor in on that end. You know, we have not had that in forever. When was the last time we had that? And please don't say Christian Wood. You know, Christian Wood could shoot pretty decently, but I would not consider him a defensive player at all. I think for Turner at this point in his career, I mean, who's to say if he stays with Milwaukee? Do they really want to? Do they really want to prioritize him? Maybe upping his trade value over getting Kellel where those reps. So if you're a betting man, put it in right now. The Kryptonian Kellel he's gonna lead the league in rebounding. You watch. But Turner in a reduced role, I think it could be like Tari Eason. Us Rockets fans, we know with Tari, it's less is more. You want to cap him off right around 25 minutes. He plays really hard and he starts doing really stupid shit when he gets tired. This would free us up to play the double big more often than not. Again, Steven Adams, don't expect anything more than 40 games for him this year, as it should be. That's going to be on Udoka to have to not minimize his impact, but he can't be an everyday type of player. We want him in those big games. We want him in the bullpen, so to speak. We don't have to dominate the boards every single night to be competitive, especially if we add some shooting like this. I just totally think this would make us a way more versatile team. But it's like, oh no, for the Fred truthers, it's like, but we lose Fred Van Fleet. We're gonna lose Fred. Guess what? We didn't have him all last year. And now he's saying his knee exploded, his MCL and ACL were both blown out apparently. I mean, he is the player, the president of the Players Association. It wouldn't be a great look for him to get traded. So maybe that's some sort of gamemanship. Maybe he doesn't want to get traded. Contrary to what people keep saying, his implied no trade clause is waived. Like that was just under the CBA rules. It's kind of like a shield, so it's about the bird rights. You don't want to, it's really complicated. Go look it up. I don't want to bore you guys with that, but it's for the bird rights. That's why he had an implied no trade clause, because it could have affected his career earnings with another team. So he would have had to veto it this year now that he signed or opted in. Totally tradable. And I still think we need to get deeper. You know, I don't think, what would this add? This would add about $4 million. You could throw JD Davidson in there too, but this isn't breaking the bank. We would still be under the apron and we would still have a lot of flexibilities. I've heard we have about 9 million or so to use, and some people have suggested Rui Hachimura, which all of a sudden we're kind of light on forwards now. So that wouldn't be bad, but I don't think they're going to do it. And you can't really look at the starters like in this hypothetical thing. Again, the starters would be Shepard, Thompson, Durant, Jabari Smith, Şengün, right? And then as the backups, you would have Smart, Green, Bogdanovic, who I suspect is not going to play that much, Tari Eason, Myles Turner, some sort of combination with Steven Adams. But that would be up to Udoka to mix and match. I mean, we don't see, how often do you see a coach sub out all five guys at the same time? It doesn't really happen. He's going to try to run his starters. Hopefully, he doesn't run his starters into the ground again this year, Tom Thibodeau style. For Amin Thompson to lead the league in minutes, totally understandable. But for somebody like Kevin Durant's going to be 38 this year. He was second in total minutes. I just don't think that's a good idea going forward. And again, this would cost us, I say, a guy who didn't play last year and Capella, who was totally useless. I mean, who knows how he's gonna play if he plays at all. Apparently he's not ready. I mean, Fred has had some injury history in his career. He's played 55 games per year for his 10-year career. I mean, if you look it up, the NBA credits only 9 seasons because he didn't play, but it's 10 season. Last year would have been his 10th year. But 55 games, not exactly the pinnacle of health. And he was already small, he was already slow, but he's smart and an extension of the coach on there. I mean, this is going to be his last year anyway, if he stays. And that's the rumor on the street that the Rockets want to trade him. We've heard Red Nation Blogger talk about it, and I believe he's tapped in. He was the first one to know about Fred's injury last year. Actually, he let Robert Land know about it. Land had. But let me know in the comment section if you guys like that trade. And we'll quickly touch on the offseason stuff here. We'll start with the Rockets taking care of their own. Tari Eason didn't get that $100 million he wanted, but 5 years, $81.5 million, 16 annually. I guess, bro. Is that what he said on Twitter or his social media? I mean, that'd be a nice problem to have. But yeah, let's give Raphael Stone some credit here. I mean, he's gotten pretty much everybody to take less money. Back to the Jalen Green days, Şengün, Kevin Durant, Bari, Tari, and we'll see what an extension for Amin Thompson looks like. But look, in this CBA, it's hard to keep your stars together, or big paid stars. I mean, we saw it with the Celtics. They broke up Town and Tatum. They thought it was time. We can't have too many guys making that. The Timberwolves a few years ago break up Cat and Ant. So, for Tari, I feel like this is pretty good value for him, though. We know what he brings defensively. He would still qualify as a two-way player for me, even though he does have some low IQ moments. Listen to Robert Land of Houston Sports Talk. Robert Land's he's a straight shooter. He'll give it to you. He doesn't care about your feelings, and Tari Eason definitely does some dumb shit on there. I'll give you that. Marcus Smart, at first it was being reported. I had got, my source was the Dallas Hoop Journal, that they said something about 21 million, 3 years. It ends up being 2 years, 13 million. So a player option next year. So good value. He's going to be replacing Okogie, who went to Utah for around the same price. And I like Josh Okogie, man, but 4.5 points last year and 6 points for his career. Good defensive player. I mean, last year was an outlier. He shot 38% from three. His career numbers is 31%. So Marcus Smart could be soaking up all those minutes. So definitely a great value. And he gives us somebody that Dylan Brooke toughness that we lacked. And Fred VanVleet insurance, just in case. And of course, we can't forget of Bogdanovic. Are we going to get the player who's averaged 14 points a game? I don't know. Last year was pretty bad for Bogdanovic. I mean, he could be washed. He is 33 going on 34. 7 points a game last year. He did start the season with a torn left hamstring from the Serbian national team in the Eurobasket League. So maybe it's that. Maybe he's washed. Anything we get from him is gravy. And then, of course, the big one, DFS costing 3 second rounders because, I mean, he was trash. But we get a trade exemption in that back. Now, are we using that, or is it for a bigger move? Only Raphael Stone knows, so all we can do for right now is speculate. But that's going to be it, guys. Let me know, did I miss anything? Do you guys want me to make any specific video? Let me know in the comment section. But that's it for now, man. This is Jet707 signing off. Peace, guys.